After the longest shutdown in American history, measures have been taken to fund our government into the new year. What are the key takeaways from both Democrats and Republicans? Here's the point. The longest government shutdown in American history is finally ending after 40 days. 8 Senate Democrats broke ranks Sunday night to advance a temporary funding measure. The final vote was 60-40, the bare minimum needed to break the Democratic filibuster that had blocked 14 previous attempts to pass a continuing resolution. Make no mistake, Democrats did not get their strategic victory. They got nothing except a promise of a future vote on Joe Biden's COVID-era Obamacare subsidies. Senate Majority Leader John Thune was crystal clear. I can guarantee you there will be a vote. I can't guarantee it's going to pass. That's what 40 days bought them, just a promise. But Democrats did carry this shutdown past the 2025 elections, which led to victories in deep blue strongholds like New York City, New Jersey, and Virginia. They're arguing these victories are their mandate to press radical policies and make COVID spending permanent. The problem is that the 2026 election will not be the same as the 2025 election, even with Trump not on the ballot. With temporary funding secured, critical infrastructure returns. Air traffic controllers go back to work. Over 4,000 federal employees will be rehired. Holiday travel will resume, and Americans can finally breathe. So what are 3 key takeaways we learned from this shutdown? First, the radical wing of the Democratic Party is now firmly in the driver's seat, putting Chuck Schumer in an unwinnable situation. Many radicals were furious Sunday when 8 Democrats broke ranks. They wanted weeks more shut down. Only the moderate camp's refusal to prolong this into the holiday season stopped them. Thousands of flights had already been canceled due to the shortages of air traffic controllers and FAA workers. Add to that 40 million Americans on SNAP benefits who wouldn't be able to purchase food. Pushing past Thanksgiving would have been a political disaster. Representative Greg Cesar, chairman of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, called the deal a betrayal. Senator Bernie Sanders called it horrific and a totally meaningless gesture. These aren't fringe voices. These voices drive Democratic policy now. Progressive groups were on speed dial with Schumer's staff throughout the shutdown, demanding he hold the line. An Axios report revealed these groups explicitly told Schumer's team that backing down and helping fund the government is unacceptable. So liberal groups said jump, and Schumer asked how high. While 40 million Americans waited for SNAP benefits and federal workers went without paychecks, these were largely Democratic voters who were being used as leverage by Democratic politicians. The 40-day length, the longest in U.S. history, happened because the radical wing is steering Schumer, who's desperately trying to keep his fractured coalition together. Second, Democrats cynically weaponized COVID subsidies towards Obamacare, an entitlement program, to hurt the very people they claim to protect. Much of America's fiscal cliff stems from unfunded welfare entitlement promises. When it came time to fund the government, Schumer refused, saying the health care crisis was so severe, so urgent, so devastating, he couldn't vote for it. But for 40 days, Schumer watched federal workers miss paychecks, flights get canceled, and food aid delayed, all for political leverage. Democrats were willing to hurt millions for weeks to ensure they had the political power. What principle were they defending? Nothing but power itself. Third, government shutdowns, while painful, serve a critical constitutional function. Without shutdowns due to insufficient funding, government socialism could go unabated without any public accountability. The separation of budget and bank, budget and funding, requires Congress to vote on funding. And that is the only thing standing between taxpayers, and complete government control. It's the only mechanism conservatives can use to keep government in check. Most shutdowns happen not because Democrats want subsidies, but because conservatives refuse to fund more spending without accountability. Most taxpayers don't read the federal budget or pay attention to skyrocketing national debt until they're forced to. Shutdowns are a mixed blessing. They force Americans to recognize that the federal government doesn't draw enough tax revenue to fund all its programs. Only when forced to think about it do they ask the question, where's all the money going? So how should Christians think about this? We must recognize the grave moral consequences to the growing national debt. No one takes this seriously except a handful of Republican lawmakers. There comes a point where you cannot grow your way out of debt. It becomes insolvent, and we're heading in that direction fast, the direction to the point of no return. We must also understand the grave moral consequences of elected representatives holding our government hostage for their own political ends. You cannot have such diametrically opposed ideologies, especially Democrats who've embraced socialism and expect responsible government. That ideology will bring our nation to ruin. As President Trump evaluates this, the clock is ticking. The 2026 midterms are just a year away. Republicans need legislative victories to run on. The border is secured. That's major. But they need energy policy wins and economic reforms that will help the middle class and incentivize Gen Z. Republicans must show they have done enough to improve the lives of the middle class. The stakes are high. Time is short. Failure will spell disaster at the ballot box next November. Christians must pray for wisdom and hold our leaders accountable, because if we don't, the radical left's vision for America could very well become reality.